Okay, game fans, we are talking about Qvke Borg today. This is Foul Adventures in a Doomed Dimension. This is an expansion for Morkborg, that wonderfully dark Swedish game unleashed upon us a few years ago. This brings the video game Quake to your tabletop. Quake, if you don't know, is a 1996 first-person shooter that was done by id Software. It was the team that brought us Doom. It's a great game, but one mired in controversy because it caused id Software to break apart and all of their top talent to move on. John Romero and Sandy Peterson all left the company, from what I understand, from that game because it was such a stressful and high impact development cycle. But it spawned a huge game franchise. Players of a certain age remember it fondly. I got Quake in 1997 for my Sega Saturn. A lot of my friends were jealous because the Saturn version had the cool Nine Inch Nails soundtrack. So this is brought to us by Michael Dunn. It is a pamphlet that is only available at Exalted Funeral. So if you go to the website Exalted Funeral, you can pick this up. It's $18, so it's one of the more expensive supplements that are out there from Morkborg, and we'll see if it's worth your hard-earned money. So again, it emulates this art punk style. This one is a particularly weird picture for me because it says in the credits that this is from Adobe stock photograph. Why would Adobe have this as stock photo? I don't know. Do they have an occult ritual section? But the artwork is good. It certainly conveys the atmosphere of Quake quite successfully. But this is, again, an unofficial expansion, but it's a very good one. It gives us a great bestiary. We have some of the more iconic creatures from Quake. The Rottweilers that you encounter in the first level. Man's beast friend. You see what they did there? You see it? Yeah, great joke, right? The grunts. Now, the artwork is, slightly changed from what they look like in the video games. Mostly, I guess, to protect against a lawsuit or copyright infringement. But I think it gets the job done. It is artwork that would certainly invoke the game. So if your players are unfamiliar with Quake, one, they're too young for you. But if they're not familiar with Quake, there's certainly, the game is very inexpensive now and is available on a wide variety of platforms. Have them go play it for a few hours before they come to your tabletop. But, like I said, the artwork it's pretty good. I like it. The creatures are not overly complex, which is to be expected from Morkborg. And again, you had to slightly change them to avoid any IP issues. But, they also had to change the names slightly. So we have Shub-Nakuroth instead of Shub-Naguroth. I don't know why they had to change the name. I think that's in public domain now. Certainly it didn't have the license to it from H.P. Lovecraft. It might be to avoid, I guess, conflict with Chaosism, because I think they still own the copyrights to all of H.P. Lovecraft's work. The nice thing about this is the one picture in this book I don't like. Why there's a random knight sitting there looking like, wondering if he can hold a poop in till he gets home so he doesn't have to use a public bathroom. But anyway. This book also gives us a new Morkborg character class, the Slipgate Ranger. So if you read this is not necessarily about playing Quake in Morkborg, it is about your characters in an existing Morkborg campaign finding their way into the Quake dimensions. Or you could do it as just a Quake game and just have everyone be Slipgate Rangers. But they give you a new character class. Each character will start off with one of the power-ups from Quake, one of the classic ones. Ring of Shadows, the biosuit. They are usable a couple of times per day or whatnot, and usually you have to make some sort of check to see if, some horrible fate befalls you. That is an actually really cool piece of artwork. I do like that. But this is a random table to see, what your Quake character's mysterious origin is. And then we have the Armory. The one thing I didn't like about this is the grenade launcher and the rocket launcher, that they give just like really basic rules for them. And yes, I understand that it's Morkborg and it's OSR, and a lot of things are left adjudicated to the players, but the grenade launcher and the rocket launcher in the game act very differently from one another. In here, if you had someone who never played the game, they wouldn't understand the difference between them. So I wish they kind of made some differential between these two. The Great Thunderbolt, does D12 damage. That is pretty beast. And don't use it in water. If you never played Quake before and you find yourself with a lightning bolt gun, do not use it underwater. Follow this advice. It is great advice. And the rest is how to adapt this into your Morkborg campaign. I love this, the random Slipgate. I can tell that the people who've put this together have really played and loved and enjoyed Quake, because any of these random names do sound like Quake levels. They sound like Quake levels, something that you would see playing in like maybe an unofficial expansion to Quake, like one of those home hacks. But you roll 2d20, and then you're landing in the Wizard's Shrine, the Haunted Grotto. These all sound like names from Quake. So at the end of the day, I do believe that if you are a Quake fan or a fan of the 90s first-person shooter video games, I would definitely pick this up. I think $18 is well worth it. You get the physical copy and a PDF. That's always a big plus to me. I love having PDFs to go with my physical copies. I like to, store the physical copies, and I have the PDFs so that my players' grubby fingers do not get all over my pristine copies. That's just me. I'm just very particular about my books. But it's $18. So again, it's probably one of the more pricey Morkborg supplements out there. But I think if you are into the 90s first-person shooters, definitely well worth the money. My brother clued me into that this was coming out. I thought it was a Kickstarter campaign at first. He sent me a link, and I thought this was, but no, it was an actual product that just got released, and I was excited for it, and I got it. It is a great purchase. You have to go to Exalted Funeral. This is only available at Exalted Funeral. But it's definitely worth the money. If you are not into the 90s FPS, if you are not familiar with it, is it worth the money? I don't know. I would say no. If this is just something that you're not into, then go ahead and skip this one. If you are one of those folks that are out there that needs to collect everything from Qvke Borg, then by all means go ahead and buy it. If you want to add an interesting piece to your Qvke Borg collection, go ahead. If you want to look at how to add certain weapons to your games, go ahead and add it. Or how to, the charts themselves on how to, make random dimensions that you're teleporting to. Go ahead and do it. I think the rules can be taken and used in other settings and other uses for it, so it's definitely worth the money on that end. But again, not your cup of tea, then go ahead and skip it. So that's it for this edition of Games of James. Tune in next week. We'll have another great video for you that we will review something game. So I will talk to you later. Bye.